Captain's log, stardate 2715.1. Exchanged cargo with Penal Colony and Tantalus 5.
All sections go to alert condition 3. We may have an intruder aboard.
Oh! Don't you remember the science lab Christmas party?
Yes, I remember.
You dropped
Yes,
in?
yes, I remember.
But I won't let you take me back. I'm not going. I'll die first. You're here. I'm not going. No.
Kirk to Enterprise.
Oh. Kirk. To Enterprise.
Hello, this is Gray from Makasashi's Tea House home in Japan. How are you doing? I hope you're good. I hope you're Genki. Wow, that was an intense opening, wasn't it? Huge thanks to Nerdporeal Lifeform for sharing that introduction with me. So let me bring him in without further ado. He is the dagger in my mind.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? What's going on? So you want to hear the opening intro for this particular episode?
That would be awesome, yeah, mate. Take it away.
All right. An escapee from a penal colony on another planet triggers a USS Enterprise investigation of alleged maltreatment of prisoners in Dagger of the Mind on NBC Television Network's colorcast of Star Trek, Thursday, November 11th. The near incoherent ramblings of Simon Van Gelder, played by Morgan Woodward, who secreted himself aboard the Enterprise in a cargo delivery from the prison, cannot be ignored by Captain James T. Kirk, despite his respect for the noted director of the colony, Dr. Tristan Adams, played by James Gregory. Accompanied by a medical aide, Dr. Helen Noel, Mariana Hill, Kirk goes inside the prison to learn the truth. Once there, Kirk reluctantly begins to suspect that Adams, a renowned expert on the human mind, may have a new agenda of mind control, which could push his staunch supporters, Kirk included, into madness. So, yeah, this sounds very relevant. This is, so Taste of Armageddon, which I've done with Salty on my channel, had a very relevant theme to this. This episode has another relevant theme to it. I don't know. This Dr. Adams reminds me. I mean, if you've seen his character, watch the episode. He is like a politician. Like, he is very warm, very friendly. Says all the right things. Knows how to behave, but accomplished a lot. But
it's a great performance by him and by all the people in this Nerdporeal. Yeah. Especially the poor doctor who's losing his mind, or has he lost it? How intense is his performance? It's like a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, so Morgan Woodward. I mean, Morgan Woodward's known for westerns. He is a tough guy. Like, he's a tough guy. If you've seen him, like, even in an episode, he's in another episode in the original series. It's called the Omega Glory. That's the one. That's the one with the Yangs versus the Combs. You know, the Yanks versus the Combs. Oh
my goodness.
And he plays Captain Tracy. And if you see him standing next to Shatner, like this, he's like 6'5", Morgan Woodward, and he completely owns Kirk, like in a fight, and he's a good menacing antagonist in that episode. Well, here he is just completely balls off the walls, just like pure grade A acting, like. You see him in that bed. You see him with the eyes bulging and the eyes moving constantly like this.
It looks like they're popping out of his head at times, doesn't it? Like it looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Nerdporeal. It's like,
boom. I can't even do it. Can I do it? So when he tilts his head before the opening of the episode, you're like, what is he looking at? And I realize he's looking at the person that he does a karate chop to knock the poor transporter dude.
There is a lot of karate chopping in this episode, isn't there? I was quite surprised about that.
Yeah, and what's funny was that was not originally the case. Originally, Van Gelder was supposed to kick the dude with his knee in the face, and NBC is like, no, too violent. You have to replace that with something else. So
no knees to the face in Star Trek.
They did the karate chop. It's been done. I mean, if you've seen City on the Edge Forever, even McCoy, DeForest Kelly, such a sweet guy, even he can do it. And he had the bulging eyes too.
Ro was right.
He
karates the F out of that guy, Nerdporeal, doesn't he? He certainly does.
I kind of, now that I think about it, I'm curious if DeForest Kelly, when he in City on the Edge Forever, when he accidentally injects himself with that super dosage of cordrazine that was caused to go murderers, assassins. I'm wondering if he was imitating Morgan Woodward's performance as Van Gelder. Food for thought, chat. Food for thought.
By the way, Nerdporeal, you'll have to point out, this is a very famous episode for a number of reasons, but mainly for a certain Spock and a certain technique he uses. Is it the first time we see this?
Yeah, and it's funny, as I was reading up on how that on the genesis of that idea. You know why the Vulcan. This is the first episode with the Vulcan mind meld, folks. And
the mind meld too. Yeah.
And you know why and you know who created the Vulcan mind meld? It wasn't the writer of this episode, Espar David. His real name, I believe, is Shimon. What's his name? Shimon Windle or Wincelberg?
Wincelberg, yeah.
Shimon Wincelberg, also known as Espar David.
Sounds like a drunken name.
So a little background on this guy. He was born in 1924, so he was a child in the 1930s when the Nazis, came to power in Germany. And his family was subjected to pogroms, so they were fucked with quite a bit, to the point where they decided, they were able to get the fuck out of Germany and come to the United States before what unfortunately fucking happened. Excuse my language. But he became a screenwriter. He wrote for plays. He wrote for the stage in the 1950s, and then he wrote for television. I mean, this guy could be the creator. He could be the co-creator of Lost in Space. He wrote the first 5 episodes, I believe, of that series.
Oh wow!
So I am not an expert on Lost in Space. I've only seen the movie, the remake with Matt LeBlanc that came out in the 90s, because my dad took us to see it when I was a kid. That's the only Lost in. I did not see the original Lost in Space series.
Nerdporeal, he used a pen name for this episode too, didn't he? Who was it?
Espar
David. There we go.
He's basically Shimon, son of David, because he's Espar David's. I don't know if it's Yiddish or Hebrew. It's probably Hebrew. So he came up. So he just had this idea of a mad scientist controlling minds, or having a device that controls minds. And the thing was that this device that was described would have cost them quite a bit of money. So that's why they came up with the idea of a booth and a chair and a console booth instead of just a device that hooks the patient too. So.
Just got a comment on this. The opening scene, I love these remastered effects. I've got to say, how good does that look?
I'll say this: the remastered version there's a big change that I didn't even notice. Right, I did notice the first time, but I forgot about it. So this was at the point where they started reusing assets that were created for earlier episodes. Okay. So they've reused matte paintings in multiple episodes. This episode reuses the matte painting. So when they beam down to Tantalus, this is Tantalus 5. This is the Tantalus penal colony. They reuse the Delta Vega matte painting from Where No Man Has Gone Before. This is the original version of the episode, not the newer versions. So the newer versions, they were able to be creative and create something totally different. But this episode, they reused that matte painting. And what's funny is that associate producer Robert Justman, who is very cost conscious, through especially all the reads I've done, he's like, why not just have them beam directly into the colony? Well, apparently they wanted to show them go into an elevator and go deep down into the surface, because I guess I guess Tantalus is based off of is based off of the lowest level of Hades. I think that's what Tantalus is originally named. So there's a lot of mythology in the creation of this episode. So like so Dr. Adams' original name was Dr. Asgard, because
really?
Asgard is Norse mythology. Asgard is like barred off and everything. And so Adams would be the the master of this area, and then Tantalus would be the place, the deepest levels of place. This is basically another mad scientist type of story.
It is.
And I mean, Lethe.
As we open, just wanted to comment on this. So the first scene we see, they're beaming down infrasensory drugs down to the penal colony. It's the first time I've seen them using the what do you call it? Oh my god, the transporters to beam something down that's not a human. Yeah, and then so they beam all that stuff down to them, and then they get this big shipping container brought there. And here, of course, penal colonies, and this was continued in the episode where Whom Gods Destroy in season 3. But when you go to a penal colony, they have a shield, and the shield is practically invulnerable. Like, you cannot access the world if the shield is up, no matter what you do. So they're trying to beam down this cargo, and Kirk has to remind them, hey, you have to contact them to beam down. You have to contact them to lower the shield to beam down. Lower that shield down, yeah.
Yeah, and I like how Kirk just tells him, maybe you should kind of brush up on penal colony procedures and stuff. He's like, right. So this is the back when Captain. You have to remember, like, the captain is the boss, and the boss wants them to know their job and to do it well. But he does it in a way that doesn't demean them, and I always like this. And this guy was originally supposed to be Scotty. So Scotty was originally supposed to be in this episode. Okay. That's something I just learned. The thing is, let's just say this guy was cheaper. They only had him for the transporter scenes. Back then, paying an actor $850 for an episode was a lot of money. And that's how much James Doohan was paid. So everybody, if you haven't read, James Doohan was paid for first season of Star Trek. He was paid $850, or roughly in that ballpark. And they were like, let's find someone cheaper.
So that's for each episode, yeah. They were paying $850 that they're in. Wow. And back in those days, that's a lot of money. And
that he was just, and Scotty was just like a supporting actor. I'm sure, like, McCoy or DeForest Kelly, of course, Shatner and Nimoy got paid the most because they were in the opening credits, but DeForest Kelly at the end of every episode of season 1 had big text saying featuring DeForest Kelly, and his name usually popped up, usually right after the guest stars names popped up. So I'm assuming he got paid quite a bit more.
He was a big TV actor, wasn't he? At the time, DeForest Kelly, he did all sorts of stuff before he did Star Trek. He was a Western. He was a Western. Yeah, he was a Western guy, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that's so cool.
But here's Van Gelder is sneaks on board, and you're like, inmates loose. He's just crazy. A crazy guy's loose. What is are they going to spend the entire episode looking for him on the ship? Kind of like the Shapeshifter episode of DS9, which I don't want to talk about because I still have Picard. I still have post PTSD from Picard season 3.
I've already forgotten about Picard. It's just gone. For you. But Nerdporeal just let me say, like, this really made me laugh, this opening scene, because it's like, when you saw the size of this box, before anything happened, I just knew there's going to be somebody in this box. He's going to come out of this box, I'm sure. And it's like, and he does. He's just like sneaking out quietly in the background. He comes up behind one of the guys and he karate chops him, doesn't he? Knocks him out.
It's that obvious. It's
so funny.
It's just, like, once again, like, he was originally supposed to knee the dude in the face.
Gosh, can't be doing that.
And so I like how the commentary about prison. So this was I don't know if Roddenberry added this. I think Roddenberry definitely added this during the rewrites, talking about, like, once again, all the future stuff, like all the commentary about the future. I think was all stuff that was added by Mr. Roddenberry himself. And so they're talking here about the prison system and the issues with it, the dehumanization of the prison system, and why it took 40 one man versus the rest of humanity for 40 centuries to make prisons humane and no longer cages. And of course, once again, that follows kind of follows up the theme of the original pilot of Star Trek: The Cage with Captain Pike, and of course here McCoy is talking to Spock, and Spock is like, McCoy's like, of course your people found an answer, because Spock's saying that dismissing this is very illogical. And he's like, oh, because we purge our emotions, there's no motive for violence, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Let's just say that kind of stuff kind of gets retconned in shows like Enterprise.
Bones'
with the
reaction was
being
great
secretive and all that. So I kind of get why a lot of people don't like Enterprise, but you watch it, it's still entertaining. It still feels like Star Trek.
So we don't know this guy is a doctor yet, do we? All they know is there's like an escaped convict is on the ship, and he's extrememely dangerous. That's what they're told. So what happens here? And he gets onto the bridge, doesn't he?
Yeah, and they talk to Dr. Adams, the administrator of the Tantalus colony.
Yeah,
and he doesn't even tell them. He doesn't even die. You have to remember. You have to remember what people say. But you also have to think about what they don't divulge.
What they don't say, yeah.
He did not tell them that was the associate director of the colony. And right there is what gives McCoy that, and him observing, Van Gelder's behavior on the bio bed is why McCoy has his reasonable doubts and put into his log, and that's what leads to Kirk going and investigating, going down to the Tantalus colony himself to investigate. But I'm getting kind of ahead of myself here. He wants asylum. He says right here, he wants asylum, and Kirk's like, at gunpoint. He's like, if you don't, I'll disable your vessel. I'll blow up the control panel. And then of course Spock, score, really slowly, it tries to approach him, and then
behind him,
creeps up. Yep. And Van Gelder tries to do it, but then Kirk does a kick.
He kicks the gun, the phaser out of his hand, doesn't he? At the same time, Spock's coming behind him, and he gives him the touch, the shoulder, the massage.
Right. So this was one stunt, and then there was a stunt later where Kirk frees himself or gets out of the booth or out of the chamber, the neural neutralizer of horrors, so to speak.
We've got a comment from Roman Nerdporeal, and shout out to Roman and everyone in the chat. I appreciate it. The Tantalus field in the mirror universe? ?
Yeah, the Tantalus field. I mean, that's the other use of the name Tantalus. Just the idea of you have this device, you turn it on. You have a screen, and you see that you have the target on your screen, and just push a button, and they're gone. They just vanish.
Wow. I've got to say, Nerdporeal, I like the way this surprised me, this scene, because he comes on and all we know is this dangerous criminal, but he doesn't threaten to shoot anybody. He threatens to shoot the control panel. He's going to disable the ship. So he's like, wait a minute, this guy maybe not what he seems. Maybe he's not a crazy murderer or something. So
yeah, and that's what makes McCoy, to me, McCoy is the smart. In this case, McCoy is the smart character here. McCoy is the reason that they are able to investigate this, because Kirk would have been like, Kirk is a fan of this guy. Imagine me, imagine me meeting one of the, imagine me meeting James Doohan or Leonard Nimoy or DeForest Kelley. They're like that respected in my mind. Well, Adams is respected in Kirk's mind, except Adams is not an actor. Adams is an actual scientist who actually has done work to help humanity, and he has a high reputation, a very high reputation. I mean, if you have someone like Kirk as a fanboy, you've done something good. You've done something really good, in my opinion. Yeah, Spock looks kind of creepy here. It looks like you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
No way, how did I do that? Oh, I was coughing, that's why, sorry. Yeah, Roman's talking about Spock and his expressions, and he's so good in this episode, Brian, isn't he? He's really cool. At times he's almost funny. He got me laughing right near the end where he walks in on Kirk and the hot lady, the psychologist.
And then they play that music.
It's really campy.
Something like that. It's a very, very whimsical theme, and I thought it was perfect. So yeah, the music in this episode was reused scores from the previous 10 episodes. I think
Okay.
mainly the episodes that Alexander Courage scored. So that's what they got here. Look at this. Look at this. Like that's what I'm talking about. This is like grade A acting right here. Like you think he literally has a dagger in his mind right now. And the Dagger of the Mind title, I don't know how you know where that came from, Gray. I was reading this. I forgot my Shakespeare. Yeah, Macbeth. Yeah. It came from Macbeth. This was like I think it was the moment where Macbeth is about to he's planning to murder King Duncan. And if I'm wrong, definitely correct me. And he's just thinking of, he's just planning in his mind, and he envisions a dagger.
It's like a hallucination because he's going crazy almost, isn't he? Like he sees a dagger before him, he can't believe it. Is it real?
Yeah.
He tries to grab it, but it disappears.
Yeah. So here with Van Gelder suffering as a result of him trying to tell them what is going on, and he can't. Whenever he tries to tell them, he's like, you know, sorry, I didn't mean to be that, but like,
no, it's cool.
He has his own daggers in his mind when he tries to answer questions, and like he's just completely freaking.
That was fascinating to me. You know, he can't say it. It overrides his mind, doesn't it? He's trying to tell what's going on, and every time he does, as you say, he just like kind of short circuits. That was really good how he did that. And
the thing is, it's like the perfect crime right here, because everybody thinks he's delusional. Everybody thinks he's crazy, and so you know what? I'll save this for the end, but I was thinking this could be a cautionary tale where the antagonist actually wins, but we could talk about that at the end if you're interested.
Oh no, it sounds good. DJ Ronnie G, shout out to him. Didn't he have one, a dagger? He didn't actually have a dagger. It was all in the mind, wasn't it? Or are you talking about Macbeth? And shout out to Zombie as well. Zombie Box Reviews is here. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, Roman, you're impressed with the acting. It was Emmy award winning stuff. It was so intense. It was kind of making me not uncomfortable, but almost uncomfortable when I was watching it. I was like, wow, what a performance!
Also, like, one thing about actors that did this type of shit, like this took a toll on the actor himself. Like he had to take a week of vacation to recover after the filming of this episode.
Not surprised.
Because, I'm assuming, like, you know, being a full-time actor, supporting actor, he does roles. 1 week he does one role, another week he does another role. Maybe 2 weeks he might be in a movie or something. But he had to take a week off after filming this episode because of that performance. So, wow. And I can say it was a well-earned vacation.
I'll tell you what, I think maybe Shatner had to take a week off for another reason, because we next see this character comes into the episode, and wow, she kind of blew my mind. Who is this, Nerdporeal? Can you describe who she is? And
that is Dr. Helen Noel, a member of McCoy's medical staff, who is an expert on, I think, psychology and penology. So,
that's it.
Like,
penology.
Penology. Yeah, penology. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the writers were thinking.
Oh my.
Oh my. Indeed.
You're right there.
She was only 25 when she did this, and she was in a whole bunch of she was in a whole bunch of shows. But yeah, look at her. Jesus Christ.
What an impression.
And I think she's still with us. I think she's still with us. Let me look. Mariana Hill is her name. Mariana Hill.
She surprised me because she makes she has an effect on Kirk straight away. Kirk's almost speechless.
Holy crap. If you look her up, there's one picture, she's like this, and she looks like a blonde, and she's got the long wavy hair, right, like this. Oh Jesus. But yeah, she is she's still with us. She is still with us.
That's good to hear. Yeah. She had an effect on me. She had a huge effect on William Shatner, Captain Kirk, because he's kind of stuttering. He's speechless for a moment, isn't he, when he sees her? Why is that, Nerdporeal? Why is he like, oh, we've met before, Captain?
He's like, we you know why? You know what's funny is he's like, you remember Captain? You know the what was it the
Christmas party,
like the holiday, the shipwide Christmas party and everything. And you have to understand that she was not originally in the script. You know who was originally in her place?
No.
Janice. Yeoman Rand was originally supposed to be the one to go down to the planet with Kirk. But the thing is, they did this thing, right? The writers of Star Trek, of the original series, did this thing called evaluating and critiquing and figuring out what made sense and what didn't make sense. And having Yeoman Rand operate the controls for that neural neutralizer that we're going to see later didn't make sense and made Kirk seem like an idiot, which is something I'm sure current writers would overlook and put it and release, because I don't think revising scripts is a thing nowadays. I think they just write a script. Here you go. We need content. The quantity over quality.
Who needs second draft or third draft? First draft is fine. There's a question from Roman.
And then, all right.
So is this the same actress from Mirror Mirror? He's asking. Is it?
No, that was Barbara Luna.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. There's the Nerdporeal Star Trek knowledge. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen.
Marla, from Space Seed? Marla McGivers.
Oh, these are all going over my
head. The redhead that got overpowered by Khan's magnetism, charisma.
I'm lost for words. Charisma. I've got Roman saying, go down. I wish I could go down, but tell you what, mate, the uniforms, how short are these? They're not even skirts, are they, these dresses? Because you can see what she's wearing underneath quite often when you see her from behind when she's walking, and she's kind of got her hands down there almost consciously trying to cover her pants.
It's let's just say there was the NBC was paying very close attention to her scenes in particular.
I'm sure everybody was watching that as well. Okay, let's move on.
It's a shame. Yeah, see, this is the new version. So the original version, they had like I said earlier, they had they reused the Delta Vega matte painting originally in the original version. So them creating this little thing right here is actually pretty interesting, because it makes it even more isolated, because it's an island. It's like a plateau.
Yeah.
Little island right there, and you just go down, and it's like you go down deep into the planet. It's just like you go into like the bottom level of Hades right there, with evil scientists and evil
what it's a nod to,
shit going on.
I love it when they beam down and you see them. I didn't catch it, but you see them just in the doorway appearing. You see the light, don't you? It's like, no way, that's the first time. You were talking about that before. You see people beaming outside rather than straight inside the penal colony.
Yeah, and Roddenberry kept that in. He wanted to keep that in. He wanted the audience to be fearful, or there was, like, when I first saw this episode as a kid, like there was a little bit of attention in the elevator, because they walk into the elevator and the door closes really quickly, and they're like they get scared, and like they embrace.
That was a strange scene. It's here, isn't it? It's like, and it starts, this weird music or sound effect starts playing, and they're going down in the lift like really, really far, right down the levels.
You hear the sound. I mean, it's I don't think there's any music. There's only sound.
Oh, is it? It's like
yeah.
There's like flashing lights and stuff. Like, what's going on? What's happened? Any excuse to embrace, William Shatner. I know what you're doing.
And what's funny was he was married, and I think he had 3 kids at this time. Like, one of his kids was in the episode Mary.
Oh wow!
Yeah, 3 daughters. I think he had 3 daughters.
What age was he roughly? Do you know? Was he late 20s or was he early 30s at this point?
Shatner.
No idea.
He was 35. He was
wow! Okay.
He just turned 90. He just turned 92 a couple months ago. There's Dr. Adams, or Dr. Asgard, as the original script named him. Look at that face. He just looks like a great guy. Like,
he's such a nice guy.
Like, have a drink. Someone who's so empathetic. Someone who's so open and comes off as honest,
welcoming, generous,
kind. Perfect. I mean, perfect setup for a bad guy. For what is really going on in that mind right now.
I love his kind of icon, his badge on his lapel there. It's really cool. There's a hand holding what appears to be, is it a dove? And there's a sun behind the hand. Very interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's very interesting.
He was on Barney Miller, says Roman.
He was on a lot of shows. He was in the pilot of Y50. He was in the pilot of The Twilight Zone. He was on Mission Impossible. He was in a shit ton of TV. He was a character actor in a whole shit ton of TV back in the 60s.
Well, he's really good in this, as you say. He starts off and he's really welcoming. He thinks like, this is a great, friendly guy. You see why Kirk respects him so much. But then they kind of change later on. He's very careful how he plays it.
And he doesn't lie. He just does not. He omits. He omits things. So like, he knew they were there to investigate what happened to Van Gelder, but yet he purposefully tries to get them not to. He tries to avoid the neural neutralizer room at all costs.
Yes.
So I mean, right away that should have been a red flag. But Kirk, once again, in his fanboy, in his immense respect, is giving Adams the benefit of the doubt. Whereas McCoy does not share that. And that's why he's down here. He's down there in the first place.
That's right, DJ Ronnie G. You're right. This is a rehabilitation center. It's not a prison.
Just when he went out of his way to humanize and no longer make prisons cages. So I don't know if this applies to, criminals who are non-sane, or if this is just for people with mental issues, or if this is for all criminals. I don't think they were clear, because they just call this a penal colony.
The next clip, I took this one just because her eyes were shining. There's like light in her eyes reflecting, and she's like, "Wow, look at this!"
All that soft lighting on the ladies in the series is just legendary.
Looks very, very good. Okay, here we go. So we meet somebody else here as well. Is this the doctor's assistant? It's not his wife, is it? It's somebody who's been rehabilitated.
Yeah, and her name is Lethe, and I think that was one of the rivers.
Lethe, yes, the river. That's it, where the ferryman takes you across, and you lose your kind of memories. You have to pay the ferryman as well, don't you, to go across the river?
Yeah,
cool.
And so like, and one thing that they've commented on. I mean, look at her face right now. Her face is blank.
Yes.
So she must have been subjected to something, to some sort of weird treatment that allowed her to no longer be that criminal. She's like, I'm no longer that person. And my old life doesn't matter. And that's it. And they were like, there's something off here.
Yeah,
something's not right. Well. Something's not right here. And what's that saying? Something's not right in Holland or something. There's something wrong in Denmark. I know that one. Is there something not right in Holland? I don't.
I don't know. But as you say, she plays it well, and we see a few people in this who have been, rehabilitated, and they're not completely robotic, but they are a little bit blank-faced, and they're just saying, very minimal lines and sentences, aren't they? They're not giving much information. At one point, Kirk thanks one of the guys, and he's just like, he doesn't even reply. He's just kind of staring.
His mind is completely blank. But once Kirk leaves, he's like, you will forget all you have heard. To remember, to recall, you will experience pain, terrible pain. As you fight to remember, the pain will only get worse. Something like that. Something like that. That poor guy. Look at that poor guy.
He looks happy here because it hasn't really started yet, has it? The treatment's about to go.
Yeah, what's with that shirt? Like, what's with that shirt that clipped on? So bare shoulder, but yet it's clipped on the
sexy shoulder showing through. What's with those pants as well? Those trousers.
It looks like pajamas. Those are pajamas. I swear I don't. Maybe not green and yellow and blue, but like I have something like that.
Okay, where are we? And this is the machine, the light that can change your mind.
Yeah, the neural neutralizer.
That's the one.
The thing that can basically like empty your brain. That's basically what this does.
It's kind of scary.
You need to have someone behind the booth to give you a thought or to suggest a thought. So basically, for the first moment we see this, we know that shit's going down. It's setting up. They're setting up something bad that's going to happen to Kirk and Noelle by having them hide, all that stuff and everything. So them torturing this poor guy, and we figure out that this is also what happens to Van Gelder, and that's why Van Gelder has all those daggers in his mind every time he tries to identify himself, and every time he tries to warn them, he's just like, he doesn't want to go back to the planet. And when Kirk's like, hey, we're going to stay here for the night, he's like, no, don't let him stay. Don't let him stay.
No.
You know, he freaks out. And then Spock and McCoy are like, we have to figure this out. So the mind meld here. The mind meld was not originally in the script. You know what they were originally going to do? They were going to do hypnosis.
Okay.
They were going to try and hypnotize him to get him to answer the questions. The thing was, NBC, there was a rule against this with NBC and with the networks. They were worried that if they conducted hypnosis, that the viewer would be hypnotized. You will forget all you have heard. By the count of 5, you will forget this dream. 1, 2, 3, 4. How did I get here? Where am I? Oh, hi, Gray. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
What are we
Today
talking about?
we're talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Doing a review of that. No, wait a minute. That was yesterday. Sorry.
I didn't see that. Was it any good? I love Volume 2. Volume 1 came out during a bad time for me, but I love Volume 2. I know a lot of people didn't, but I love Volume 2 quite a bit. So.
I'm the other way around, mate. I rewatched Volume 2 after 3, and I was like, I don't think it's very good. 2, but 3 is surprisingly good. But anyway, let's not get distracted with. We've got also one saying, "Who is this nerd guy? Who's this Nerdporeal? Where did you come from? What were we talking about?"
Yeah, what were we talking about? Oh, it says Star Trek with rediscovering Star Trek 5, and I see Van Gelder. Oh, we're talking about Dagger of the Mind. Oh, okay, nice. Is this
a Nerdporeal I see before me?
Sorry, that was just a reaction. But yes, so yeah, was that fun? Was my play acting fun of pretending to forget, all that we've talked about so far? I hypnotized myself. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's what NBC was worried about. So that's why, instead of adhering to the rules, Roddenberry completely ran out the hypnosis angle. And plus, they needed to have a reason. Another thing is Spock. How would Spock be qualified to conduct hypnosis? It would have to be McCoy.
Yes.
So then, Mr. Roddenberry pulled, a sci-fi idea out of his head. Hey, he's an alien. Let's make him telepathic. So that's where the mind meld comes in. But originally, he was supposed to. I laughed when I learned this. He was supposed to touch his groin, or not his groin, his stomach, to do the mind meld.
No wonder it's called a penal colony. Jesus, he's going for his groin. But his stomach. Yeah. So it's from the stomach originally. No way. Okay, so we see the mind meld. This is what I was getting. I made a mistake earlier. This is the first time we see it on the screen. Is that right? The mind meld, not the grip, the Vulcan grip.
Yeah, so they didn't do the usual, like this, where you have your finger on the guy's nose.
That's right. That's come later, hasn't it? This one, the classic.
It was originally this, like that. So. And then he gives, and of course, same thing. He experiences a strange euphoria, and then he's in complete relaxation, and he's able to answer questions very, 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 very calm, like super calm, like even more calm than normal.
It's great.
So it was a surreal scene. Like the choice of music was brilliant.
I like the way he's talking as well, Spock. He's kind of, first of all, he asks his consent, doesn't he? And then the way he's I don't even know how he words it, but he's not like directly asking questions. Is he pretending to be him? He's saying like we did this, or I can't remember now, but it's a really good approach how he does it. It's worth watching.
Yeah, and one thing interesting that Spock says to McCoy is like, "This will not affect you, Dr. McCoy. It only affects the person I touch." So yes. I think that was a jab at the hypnosis. This was a jab at the hypnosis role of the network. That's how I interpreted that. So
Nimoy is so good in this, Roman. Yes, you're right. I agree. He blew me away in this one. It's still like only the 9th or the 11th in order, the 11th episode. So
I've heard Roman's a Romulan fanboy because get it, Roman, Romulan, Romulus, Remus.
Who's your favorite Nerdporeal in this episode? Who's your favorite performer or performance?
Oh, easily Morgan Woodward. Morgan Woodward is the standout. As charming as James Gregory is as Dr. Adams, and as hot as Mariana Hill as Dr. Noel, the best performance is Morgan Woodward right here. Like this is. I mean, the fact that he had to take vacation for a week just shows you the intensity, just not. I mean, the face, the movements, the dialogue, everything was there. Like this is pure acting. I mean, you guys might disagree with me, but this is the standout actor in this episode by far.
Oh, definitely. According to Wikipedia, you mentioned this before, he says he called this role the most physically and emotionally exhausting acting job of my career up to that point.
He looks like he's literally being tortured, like just like that. You know, it's just, yeah. Dude's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. And this is like a complete departure from his usual tough guy roles.
That's cool. Roman was raised by Italian wolves. This is true, Nosferatu. Anyway, okay, let's move on. So, next thing we see is we have Kirk in the chair. Does he want to try it for himself? I can't remember how this works, because Hot Helen is doing it, isn't she?
He wants to understand what this is. Because, once again, Adams is giving Kirk a bunch of non-answers about this, and he basically explains that Van Gelder created his own problem with this, that he didn't think it was morally right to subject a inmate to this thing without understanding it himself, and he's just he has it tested on himself alone. At least that's what Adams says. But you know, come on, with Adams' reputation, why not believe him? We can believe it, right? Trust
me, I'm a doctor. Look at my face. I'm so welcoming.
Yeah, and 30 years of being humane, of revolutionizing the prison system and mental health and everything together. And William Shatner's Kirk is your fanboy. That says a lot.
It does. You're right. It starts off very well, and everything's fine until suddenly the Doctor takes over, grabs poor Helen, and he turns up the intensity on the dial, doesn't he? Yeah.
And he forces... so I think before that, Kirk... Helen gives Kirk two little things for literally food for thought. First, she says, "You're hungry," and he's like, "Oh, once we're done here, I want to raid a kitchen." And she's like, "I put that on your mind." And he's like, "Oh, fuck." He's like literally thinking, "Oh, fuck. This is a pretty effective device for something that Dr. Adams says he was going to discard," because that's what Adams was saying. He's like, "Oh, this is a failure. This is a career failure of his, this machine." Well, turns out not to be the case. And then, of course, Helen makes him recall the Christmas party. So the NBC, like when he's carrying her to his quarters, NBC was like, gotta be careful with this. No open mouth kissing, So, and then he's smiling at the memories right there. And then that's when it cuts to this right here.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about
that. And so he continues the thing. And he's like, "You're madly in love with Helen. You'll die if she's gone and everything." He's like, "Helen, don't go. I need you, Helen." And then he's like, "Take the phaser, Captain, and drop it on the floor. Captain, the pain increases unless you obey. Drop phaser." And then he's like, "Same with the communicator, Captain. Drop it on the floor." And then Kirk takes out the communicator. "Kirk, new Enterprise. Oh. Kirk, new Enterprise." Like that. Yeah. And then it cuts to a commercial. This is great. This was such. I thought this was great. So this was a nice little standout for Shatner right here. This moment right here, because you think he's in pain with that light flashing on his face.
He was channeling his stage acting here, wasn't he? He really was. He went a little bit over the top, but it's cool. I love it when he does this, Shatner.
Yeah, I mean, once again, like the acting now with current Trek is, I mean, like watching, like I don't know if I brought this up last time, but with I watched the Strange New Worlds episode. What if Balance of Terror was played out differently with Captain Pike as the commander of the Enterprise? And so they were reusing dialogue from Balance of Terror in that Strange New Worlds episode, and the gravitas was just not there. Like they had a new actor play the Romulan commander. Could not capture the gravitas of Mark Leonard's performance. Same with Ethan Peck Spock, saying some quotes that Leonard Nimoy did in that episode. None of the gravitas there. So, like the acting in the original series is, in my opinion, stellar. Especially in this first season.
I
and
agree.
Then season 2 and season 3 got more and more cheesy, and I think the actors kind of started taking it less seriously too, probably because the scripts were not that good. I don't know.
You can understand it in a way, can't you? As you say, this is their first season, so they're really making a huge impression, and they're getting to know the characters. It is the best. I think it's the best acting in it, but I've not seen all of season 2 or season 3 yet. I can't really comment, Nerdporeal, but I heard how it kind of does get a little bit cheesy, a little bit campy.
Yeah, Kirk Shatner gains weight. He starts to have the captain's gut in season 2. And,
oh no, really?
Yeah, and it gets insanely. And the dialogue just gets some of the best Shatnerisms in later seasons.
Which is what people used to take the mickey out of it later on. They remember the later seasons, don't they?
Yeah.
Hey, Leia, how you doing? Great to see you. And DJ Ronnie, the captain's girdle.
Yeah, captain's girdle.
Hey, it happens, Roman. It happens, doesn't it? It can't be helped. Imagine the success, because he did get success from this, Shatner, the first season, and probably went to his head, but it's easy to celebrate, isn't it, when you're doing well?
Yeah, I mean, you ever see the Saturday Night Live skit of Shatner telling this all the Star Trek fans like Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and David Spade and all them to get a life? Like, this was a 3-year gig. This was just a 3-year gig. Get a life, I'm surprised they don't have that up on line. I had to find a really raw copy, like a recorded VHS copy of that.
Do you think, Nerdporeal, it could, it probably did kind of freak a lot of the original actors out, how seriously the fans, took it and started to take it, and how, intense it became, the adulation of the series and the characters and the actors.
I mean, I hate to bring up a certain person that promoted Picard Season 3, but he made a movie called Free Enterprise, Mr. Robert Burnett. And there's a scene in his movie where, obviously one of the characters is himself and another writer. I forget that person's name, but they approach Shatner in a library, and Shatner is just like, they're trying to figure out how to approach him. And the moment they approach him, no matter what they do, or he's just freaks out. He's like, "Can you get away from me? Like, I just want to be left alone. I don't want to deal with you crazy fans, and
leave me alone.
Just go over there. Let me be." Oh, we're writers. Oh, Jesus. That's even worse. They're like, oh, we're writers. Oh, no, I don't want... No.
Which is worse, fans or writers?
Well, yeah, fans want something. They'll want a picture. Writers will want your time, and, and you have to suffer through reading a bad script or something. So, but yeah.
I haven't seen the SNL skit, Roman. I wish I'd seen it.
Yeah, he did an SNL skit where the Enterprise is converted into a restaurant. This was like during I think it was during production of Star Trek 5, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to see if it's on YouTube later. I'll see if I can find it. Nice one.
And so you had like a lot of the so only Shatner is Kirk, but like they have the usual actors that play the other characters. There was one constant actor, one Asian actor, I forget his name, on SNL. They always brought him back as Sulu. They always brought him back. They always brought him back as Sulu, even as late as recent as 2016 with Chris Pine imitating William Shatner's Kirk with that uniform, and then you have Spock, I think played by, I forget who plays Spock, but then you have Spocko. Apparently they created a character named Spocko who is a half Vulcan, half brother of Spock, who was raised in New Jersey. So yeah, now that's a Star Trek. That script. That was actually a good one. This was pre-New Trek though. Back when I was actually still, excited for new Trek and everything. How times have changed.
Back in the good old days, before the Empire. Oh no, that's the wrong series. Before New Trek. Before JJ.
Yep. Before streaming. Let's be real. Streaming has ruined entertainment.
Look at Shatner here. What a great look.
I remember. And then he's like Ellen. He's pretending to be under that thing, but then he kind of, I don't know, I guess he somehow breaks out of it, and he orders her to go into the vent to lower the shield to get to the engine room to lower the shields and everything. And yeah, there you go. Yeah, look at that. Look at that form right there. Oh. Look at that upper body strength.
Looking good. I like the lighting again. Look at that lovely purple lighting in the background.
That lighting allows me to see. No, I'm not going to say anything. This is a G-rated stream, and I'm a good person.
Of course you are. Me too. Then we see Spock beam down just after she's gone away and she's hidden.
Interesting shot here. This looks like he got shot with he's like in the process of being vaporized.
Oh my god, yeah. Spock, look at this.
No. Like what just happened? And he just, disappears. But yeah, he comes down and he turns off. I think so. She gets into a fight with this dude over the controls, and she manages to turn off the shield, which allows Spock to beam down, and also allows Kirk to no longer be subjected to the beam. And so he ends up freeing himself, beats up Dr. Adams and that other a blank jerk dude guy, and gets out. And Adams is unconscious on the floor. Spock comes down, and he's like, "What happened here?" And then he just turns back on the system. And so Adams is on the ground in the booth, in the neural neutralizer room, and the thing comes on. The beam comes down. It's aimed at him now, and there's no one at the booth to give him any thought suggestions. Yeah. So what happens? It just, if he's in there long enough, it empties his brain and he's dead.
I didn't get that Nerdporeal. It's like, why did it kill him? Because it was just as intense when it was on Kirk. What? Because there was somebody there?
It was because there was nobody there to give. Okay. It just emptied his brain. And one of the issues I had with this episode was they never. We don't know why he did all this. Why? What was his motivation? Why did he do what he did? Because everything that was set up was that he was a great person. He was very humane. And yet he does this evil shit. And this was addressed. This was actually addressed in an earlier version of the script, and Ron Berry deleted it.
Okay.
So apparently this very famous scientist, and I'm going to find the dialogue, because the dialogue's actually in here. The dialogue's in here of why. Okay, here, it's perfect. So right before the Helen Noel beam turns off the beam, Kirk asks, literally, like, for what purpose, Doctor? I cannot understand a man of your, and then of course he can't finish the sentence, and then Adam says this, of my reputation. Unfortunately, I have little else except now with this device. Wait for it, power. Power over minds, and thus over everything that counts. The final great criterion. And since I have it, I have decided to use it for myself. After all these years of doing things for others, say I want a very comfortable old age, on my terms, and I am a most selective man. And then, of course, Kirk just yells back, unnecessary. Just trust. And then Adam says, trust mankind to offer me any just reward? You're an optimist, Captain. In this work, I've learned too much about men's minds. And this is what Mr. Roddenberry cut out because of his vision for Star Trek, which really he kicked off in Next Generation. It was just like, Roddenberry did not want this to be in what his vision of the future. He wanted, he had this hope for mankind to overcome petty differences and emotions such as envy, jealousy, greed, basically idealism. And this is what kind of caused TNG the first two seasons to suffer, I think, without having the conflict. And Motion Picture was another. I mean, Motion Picture there was conflict, especially with Kirk and Decker. But yeah, same. I mean, yeah, this was obviously modified by Ron Berry for that purpose, and I personally feel the episode suffers for that. I think we should have gotten. I think this dialogue should have remained in the episode. and that in his case is relatively unique. But then again, you kind of wonder if other men of his caliber who have accomplished so much have fallen to this type of mindset too.
Yeah.
So
no zombie box review saying.
What'd you think of that? What'd you think of?
No, it was really cool.
Of Dr. Adams' motivations here for that.
Yeah, it's like he's saying here, no one sees themselves as the bad guy in their mind. It's all for the greater good. They believe in what they're doing. They believe they're doing the right thing. In their mind, they're not doing anything wrong, are they?
So, with that being said, I'm curious if you wanted to hear my little cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale, always.
Where nothing happens to Adams. He doesn't die, but he does manage to change Kirk. He manages to change Kirk. Van Gelder gets returned. Van Gelder does not get better. So at the end of this episode, Van Gelder gets better. He takes over as the head of the colony, or the director of the colony. And I believe I've read here that he is still alive during DS9. He is still in charge of the Tantalus colony during Deep Space Nine, because people can live to be 150 years old, like McCoy. So what's not wrong about not having died? So I don't know if it's in canon, but Van Gelder is still running the Tantalus penal colony in the 24th century. So, but imagine if let's just say, for a cautionary tale, imagine if both Kirk and Noel are changed by Adams, and instead of, like, Spock does not act fast enough to help them, and of course, or either they both change, or Helen gets killed, or Helen gets caught. Perfect. Helen gets caught trying to lower the shield. Like, instead of them trying to fight her, they literally just they take her away. They take her away. And they take her back to they put her in the neutralizer right after Kirk, and so she never lowers the shield, and Spock never comes down. So Adams not only survives, but he wins ultimately. Adams wins by changing Kirk and changing Noel, because now that the fact that they are changed, their report's going to be final. Or Kirk's report is going to be final, and it's going to supersede McCoy's reasonable doubts. So McCoy and Spock are going to try and fight this, and Kirk's going to just shut that shit down. And if you do anything against orders, I will have you. You will be court-martialed. And then that would be how the episode ends. And
Wow.
Van Gelder would be returned without getting better. He would continue to be subjected to that treatment. I know, it's awful. It's awful.
That's a dark ending, Nerdporeal.
It would never do that. But after watching The Great Silence with Klaus Kinski, Nas's personal hero, I was just thinking of bleak endings and cautionary tales and stuff. Just as a change of flavor for viewing, just to make you think. That type of stuff does make you think, and it gets you upset too, but it challenges you. I'll say. Yeah. And this would never happen in my version. Spock would never get down. Kirk and Noel would just beam back up and say everything's good.
Nerdporeal. So did somebody say Klaus Kinski? Nosferatu.
That's right.
You summoned him up, and Roman's saying, "Oh, Nerdporeal is bringing me down, man."
Yeah, I know.
Happy endings are a dime a dozen. Yeah,
I think this would have been this could have been a perfect episode for that type of ending. So. Obviously, 60s, they didn't want people, they want people to be entertained, you have a happy ending, and then, go forward with your lives. But then, you have a bleak ending. I mean, nobody would have died. I mean, what's funny is nobody would have died. They could have continued the series. It was just.
They could have continued the story as well, couldn't they?
And a hell of a risk. That would be a hell of a risk, though. But it'd be interesting if They could have done that. So
Did they used to do like two-parters or not back in the first season? Because they could have continued.
I mean, they did.
As you said,
the only two-parter they ever did in the show was the menagerie, and that was the envelope. That was the envelope episode, which is a future episode of Rediscovering Star Trek.
Yes,
hosted by Mr. Gray of Wakizashi's Tea House. Please subscribe and hit the like button.
Don't forget
and
to
leave
leave
a
that
comment
like button.
afterwards. Stick around, leave a comment saying how great this stream is, and how bad of a nerdporeal I can be sometimes.
You're not bad at all. I love it. I love you. You hit. I'm using you, Nerdporeal, for your Star Trek lore, your knowledge. It's unbelievable. It's cool.
This is one of the few streams I actually really prepare for because because it's a lot of fun to read up on the story behind the episodes.
Yeah.
And this is a great way for me. I want to eventually do a Star Trek retrospective on the first season. And so me learning this stuff is great.
Sounds cool. Sounds good to me. This has been awesome. Yes, I really enjoyed watching this episode. It's very intense. Acting is very intense in this. There's a beautiful actress in here as well. For me, it was the first time to see her. Nerdporeal was saying she's been in quite a lot of TV around that time, so I must look out for those. Yeah, Spock was awesome. Leonard Nimoy in here were really good. Captain Kirk is always good, but as you said, the standouts were the doctors, weren't they? Especially
Dr. Van Gelder.
Morgan Woodward as Dr. Simon Van Gelder. What a performance by him! So good.
Just that first look, that cuts to commercial in the beginning of the episode, where he's just like he's completely bug-eyed, and you have a close up of him like this. And he's moving his eyes like all over the place. Like it's you think he's crazy, but he's not.
Yes, they do that. They really ham it up to begin with. Like he's like his skin is glistening. It's like he's sweating. It's always really extremely close up to him. His eyes are bugged out. Yeah. He's got this like look on his like, oh my god, he's going to go murder them all. But he doesn't. They subverted our expectations even back then.
Yep.
Back when writers knew what they were doing, says Shieldwall.
Yep.
Roman saying writers? Yep. Question mark.
Writers back then were real writers, I mean,
would you say the first season has the best of the sci-fi writers doing Trek?
They had the best ideas because they brought back writers like I think Sturgeon came back. I don't know if Sturgeon did. I don't know if Sturgeon did season 1, but Sturgeon that did a mock time. But they brought back like Robert Bloch. Robert Bloch, the writer of the Psycho novel.
Psycho, yeah.
He wrote What Are Little Girls Made Of, and then he came back and he wrote Cat's Paw, and he wrote Wolf in the Fold. So 2 horror-based episodes. One was a Jack the Ripper whodunit episode, and then Cat's Paw was the Halloween episode. But
I don't remember those. No way. Awesome.
Yeah, Cat's Paw has witches and giant black cats and castles and zombie McCoy and zombie Scotty and zombie Sulu trying to murder Kirk and Spock. And you have there's literally a magic wand in that episode.
No way.
Yeah.
No memory of it. Seriously.
And they turn the Enterprise into like a little toy figurine, like literally. And then they're like, we're going to torture your crew.
Oh, wait a minute. That sounds familiar. That scene. No way.
Uh-huh. So he wrote Wolf in the Fold, which is one where Scotty is like, everybody thinks Scotty's murdering women with a knife. Yeah.
With a dagger in the mind? No.
But I think the What Are Little Girls Made Of is his best episode of the series. Because those two I do not like. I mean, Wolf in the Fold's okay, but it gets ridiculous. It gets so ridiculous at the end. And Cat's Paw is just a Halloween episode, really. But yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
So, Nerdporeal, what would you recommend as the next episode to cover? Because we're not doing every episode. We're not doing them in order. It's totally up to you, and we can do it on your channel if you're interested next time. If you want to. Yeah, I do want to continue this on my channel, and then we switch off everything. Yeah, we can alternate.
I think for Gray, I think we should cover. I think we should cover What Are Little Girls Made Of next. Now that I talked about it. We're gonna go back in production order to episode 10, think that's another mad scientist episode we should cover.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
But
now that you told me that Robert Bloch wrote it, I didn't know that. So yeah, I really want to see that now. Brilliant.
So I think for the one that I want to do, I'll have to figure out a date and time. I don't know if we're going to do it on Saturday or Friday. I'll have to figure that out. But I want to do Where No Man Has Gone Before. The second pilot. So
okay, sounds good.
So we'll figure this out, everybody. We'll figure this out.
Yes, we will. And again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comments in the chat. You guys and girls out there, you make the streams. I'm bowing down as usual to Nerdporeal's Star Trek lore. It's unbelievable. I think he knows a lot more than Terry Metalis. Just saying.
Terry Metalis probably hates my guts.
No, he doesn't.
All the Twitter stuff I've been saying, yeah, like Dave Blast just went into my tweet history. And just he made an image of all my tweets saying, "Oh, this guy just likes to repeat himself, huh?" Pissed me off. Though, but hey,
they got too much time on their hands, Nerdporeal, haven't they? It's unbelievable, crazy.
You think they wouldn't because they work for Hollywood and they live their jobs. I mean,
yeah.
And I'll be honest. I mean, as much as despite my interaction with Mr. Blast, I thought the production design for Picard was actually pretty good. It's just the story, the writing. The writing was really bad.
I still don't get it because my optimistic take, and I was enjoying it to begin with, but I knew it wasn't like this. It's not like the original series. It's not like a good TNG, DS9, anything like that. Yeah. But then I thought it got worse and worse towards the end of the season. But people are saying it gets better and better, and it's greater and greater. And the end, the final episode is like the thing we've all wanted to see for years. And I was like, yeah, but it's crap writing. It just doesn't.
I mean, were you happy with the arcs? one person, Brett, who I've had on my channel, for the finale, who was very positive about. Well, not. I mean, he says it's not perfect. There were problems with it, but he was really happy with the arcs of all the characters, like Picard's arc, Riker's arc, Beverly's arc, Geordi's arc, and everything. And I just kind of found those arcs kind of contrived. Just once again, I didn't feel they were great.
No.
Contrived, underwhelming. I don't know how to put it. Geordi becoming Jake LaForge and not wanting to help, and then his daughter has to remind him to help because like he taught her. I was like, okay. And then Beverly Crusher because of the fact that Picard was such a big shot ambassador doing stuff, with the Romulans and being subjected to assassination attempts. That's her justification for denying him fatherhood to keep so that her son can be safe or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you saw Picard in season 1 and 2 of Picard, terrible. Like it just pisses me off more. Like, why would you deny him that? Oh, it was great to see him become a father. Well, he didn't know he was a father. It would take a whole series to develop that.
Yeah.
It
was too little, too
so
late.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and then Riker having freaking existential crisis because a son that was made up for Picard season 1 died because robots were banned. I mean, it wasn't a bad arc how it paid off, but I just didn't like where it came from in the first place.
Yeah, I think they ruined it beforehand with season 1 and 2, but for me, it was a member berries Nerdporeal, and we won't go on too long, but it was just too much. People say, no, they did it really well. It was member berries done well. I thought it was just like, hey, remember this, let's show you this, let's do this. It's like, oh, come on. Yeah,
they implemented it. Yay! Anybody can do that. Yay! They weren't just Easter eggs. They were trying to. I mean, they were trying to recapture nostalgia. They're trying to sorry, my computer. They were trying to recapture nostalgia, and that's what people like. People liked the TNG crew coming back together. People liked the nostalgia. They felt it was a reason. It felt like it added continuity to the earlier shows.
Yeah,
I mean. The only thing that felt like continuity was the Rose stuff, and even the Rose stuff wasn't executed the best, especially with how she dies. I mean, it was a noble way to end her, but the way that they did it doesn't make sense. Like either the villains are so stupid, or the villains are so stupid to do it like that, or the writers didn't think it through.
It was done, it was done to shock. It was like the shock tactics, because I enjoyed the Rose scenes, but yeah, as you say, I didn't like the way they killed her off.
And it was Alex. It wasn't even me. I was glowering. I was actually glowering over that episode. It was Alex and Steve that.
I enjoyed it.
When
it's like
issues on there. As much as I love to blame Steve that I hated Picard because
I know,
but I just am doing that. But it's all his issues with the show are valid.
They are, yeah. As a neutral, someone who's hasn't watched it before, so he can just. He's got no emotional attachment, so he can see the mistakes, the flaws in the plot. And I'm only joking, Steve. I know you're not watching, Steve, but when we in Nerdporeal say you ruined Star Trek for us, it's just a joke, mate.
Yeah.
It was. It was already ruined, Nerdporeal, from the first season of Discovery.
Yeah. I'll say this: one thing that we do not agree on is Zelda Breath of the Wild. He loves it, and I don't love it.
Oh, really? I haven't seen any of that yet. I know he's been streaming
playing,
it.
I think he's still playing it now. Actually, on his stream.
Is he loving it? Is he? I wonder what Angry Canadian thinks, because he's not watching.
Oh, Angry Canadian's going to play it, and he's super excited. Like, I'm the asshole here. I am the minority on this take. If I had a hot take, that's the hot take. Then Picard season 3.
Okay, well, with the sirens in the background over here in Japan, let's bring this to a close. So let me thank Dagger of the Mindporeal, Nerdporeal Lifeform, for coming on and sharing his Star Trek knowledge. This has been a great episode. Really enjoyed watching it. Recommend it to anyone out there. You can watch this without any previous episodes. You can just go straight in with this and then really enjoy it, I think. So any final words, Nerdporeal, before we finish?
Yeah, I mean, this is Dagger of the Mind is not the best of the original series episodes, but this is a very good episode. Very, very fun episode to watch. Very thoughtful. Very great concept behind it. I think Esbar David is a great writer. May he memory eternal for him. He's been gone for 2 decades now. If you guys have a chance to read up on the history of this episode, like, it's fun to read. Like, the stuff that they put in and they didn't include was insane. But definitely a great episode to watch. Definitely a great episode of television when television was, script writing was taken seriously. Can I plug myself too?
Of course, yeah. What have you got coming up this weekend, sir? All
right, so I got a video I'm editing right now. It's taking me forever, but my Metroid retrospective for the first game and the remake of the first game should be up hopefully in a few days. I just have to get my ass in gear. And then tomorrow, Sunday night, is Dragon Reborn Part 2 stream, featuring all your favorites, your Pips and your Prophets of the Dragons and Nathan, Man of Manetheren. And the special guest tomorrow night will be Eldan. So come by if you read the Wheel of Time and you have nothing to do, definitely come by and give us a view. These streams are a lot of fun, and of course, my intros are very Star Trek inspired, especially TNG inspired, especially Best of Both Worlds inspired, and my outros are also TNG Best of Both Worlds inspired too. So I feel I made better use of Best of Both Worlds than Picard season 3. Excuse me, sorry.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good. Okay, please check that out. Nerdporeal doing the Wheel of Time, the good Wheel of Time, the books, and Zombie Box reviews, mate. No plans to cover other sci-fi shows at the moment, just because of time, basically. But we're focusing on the original series, Star Trek, but I do movie reviews. I'm going to bring those back in the next couple of weeks on Friday nights. But they can be random movies. It can be anything from sci-fi to thrillers, westerns, whatever. So yeah, great to see you in the chat, and thanks so much for watching, and hope to see you in a future video. Good night. God bless.
Stay Nerdporeal.
Stay Nerdporeal. Ooh, there you are. There's your name. Thank you for being a member, Nerdporeal.